Any other ones are right? Computers also put away. Item Jana. We'll do one and three. Okay. For number one, writing the following interval notation. We are given set builder, Jacob. So we have to look at these signs. The one that's not equal to would be open. The one that is would be, would be a parenthesis. The one that is equal to would be a square bracket. And you would put those two numbers. That's it. For number three, if you were solving this for the t, you have to get t by itself. Get rid of 2 by multiplying on both sides. Get rid of a by dividing. And then get rid of the square by taking the square root of both sides. So t would equal the square root of 2s over a. Yes. Number 2, sorry. Calculator, we'll grab those in your calculator, reset it. Second plus 712. Or set your calculator. And then you're going to go into stat. Go into edit. And you're going to put in the numbers. The x values are going to be L1. And the y values are going to be L2. And then we're going to go back into stat, go over to calculate, and then we just need the y-intercept, so number 4, and down the track. So then your equation would be y equals negative 1.5x. Put plus 0 at the end, you don't need it. Does anyone else need a final exam review before we start that? If you didn't already get that out, make sure you get that out. Away. So we're going to take about half the class. So this beginning part, and then some of when we get back, go through as many questions you guys want to go through. And then after that, you guys can work on retake work, missing tests, missing assignments, work on final exam review after that. So we'll start with the first page. What questions do we want to see you go over on the first page? from the beginning of the year. So the second page is 1.2. You have number 8. I'm going to do number 8 from the first page. So on number 8, you need to distribute. Make sure you're both checking your math and your calculator. If you have any like terms, combine those. Combine them and do exactly what it says. Don't do opposite signs. And then you can move your x's to be on the same side and your constants to be on the same side. So let's say I move my constants to the left, and it really doesn't matter. Let's say I move my constants to the right, but it so we have 17x equals 0. Divide both sides by 17. Remember that you can always put the number of your solution back in to see does this work. Other questions on the first page or questions on the second page? One point two is all about literal equations, kind of like the ones we did on the chart right. If go on to unit 2, point A, or point 1, slope, what questions do we have there? Any others? So the slope questions are different things. From a graph, from 2 points, from the equation. So from the graph, if we're trying to find the slope, we need 2 points that cross the grid line exactly. One would be where the arrow ends, and then this one here. And I would count rise up or down first, and then left or right. So this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure all of your slope answers have an m equals. Up and right would make this a positive. And then we would just need to see if it was simplified. Would this be simplified? X to what? Which means I probably missed the point. If I were to go up 4 and to the right 3, I should land at another point. But you can count your slope from any 2 points. Any other slope questions? Jacob, computer away. questions on the next page? Yes.
There's a final topic in your
It's worth 10% of your overall grade. So you could easily drop a letter grade.
But if I get like a 50, does that mean I lose 5 points?
Your overall grade.
Not whatever.
If you get 100, your grade basically stays the same, but it could boost it a couple points. It's weird.
If I get like a 40 and I have a 62 for you,
I can calculate what that actually
am I failing?
Not at this time.
I wish it's a not big fun.
So you need like 50 grades. Questions in 2.2 writing? Moving on to 2.3, graphing. Any questions there? For this first one, we would need to solve this, guys. Get this back in slope-intercept form. Get rid of the 3x by subtracting it. Switch the order. And then divide everything by negative 2. This is going to stay a fraction but become positive. And this will become a positive 2. Graph your y-intercept first, whatever the number is by itself. Use this as your slope. You can go up 3 to the right 2. Or the opposite, down 3 and left 2. Do that as many times as you can. Once you have all of your points, graph your line. Connect all of your points, draw arrow the hands. Any other graphing questions? In 47, this is a whole lot of space. I'll rewrite what that means after lunch. But this is an x equals, that's going to be a vertical line at when x is negative 3. You would draw a vertical line at negative 3. I'm just writing what you wrote. The bell's not right here. phones up, computers away. I was explaining this as the bell was not ring, but just so that we're all on the same page. If you remember this is an x equals, which means it has to be a vertical line, and you would draw a vertical line through to that point. Did we have any other graphing questions before we go on to intercepts? Questions on 2.4? With questions like these, you want to put 0 in for whichever variable you are not solving for. So let's say I put 0 in for x. Then I'll be solving for y. And I could divide both of these by 3 to figure out what y is. And then I would write that as an order pair. Then I would do the same thing to find x, but opposite. Put 0 in for y now. And solve this for x, divide everything by 2. And then write that as an order pair. Other intercept questions? So we're now in quarter 2 material 2.5 or 2B.1, parallel and perpendicular lines. Any of those we want to see to go over how functions are. Which one is that? Okay, and then I will represent here. Okay. So in 58, you're finding the slope that's parallel. So since this is already in y equals mx plus b, you just have to look at the slope. Because it's parallel, that's going to be the same. So the slope for 58 would be the same, -3. In the second section, you're again looking for the slope, but now that's perpendicular. Perpendicular slopes have negative reciprocals. So you take that number, you flip it. If it was positive, you make it negative, vice versa. For 62, questions like it, where you have an x equals or y equals just a number, you have to remember your bugs so that you know your slope. This is an x equals, so the slope would be undefined, but it needs to be perpendicular, so it needs to be opposite, which would be 0. Other parallel perpendicular questions. 2.6 linear regression. Now, these problems in this already have the line of best fit, but we're still going to put this stuff in so that we can use the table to find any of the problems. Ignore 69 because that's just an extra number in there. What other questions do we want to see you go over on this? For 71, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did on the shark bite. Put this into our calculator. If you still have the numbers in there from before, so go into stat, go into edit, go up to the top and hit clear, and then scroll down and do the same thing for L1. Put in each of those numbers. The height would be your L1. And then once you have in all of your numbers, you're going to go back to stat, go over to calculate to the right, number 4. And then because we want this, we want to be able to do this in the calculator, we're going to store this. So go down to store regression equation and hit alpha trace, and then enter 3 times. So the equation that's given doesn't have all these decimals because they rounded it. But now that we have this, we can find A and B. So we need to find the weight of someone who's 4.95 feet tall. So we're going to go into the table. And 4.95 feet would be around 5. But I want it specifically at 4.95, so I'm going to change this by going into the table set, second window. That's not what I pressed though. Try again. In second window, I'm going to change this to 4.95. And I'm going to change this to 0.05 so that I see it counting by numbers. And then go back to the table. Then I can see the exact weight of that person. It says round to the nearest 10, so 109.8. Make sure you put labels. To show your work, you would say did in the calculator. Use calculator. Because part B is doing the same thing, looking for weight for someone who's 7 feet tall, you could either scroll or change this back to, let's say I want to start at 7 and change this back to 1. And then again, rounding to the nearest 10. So 209.2. Other linear regression questions. then word problems on the next page. Any questions? Any others? When you see word problems, you want to highlight, circle, underline anything that's important. So in this one, you plan to go skiing this weekend up in the mountains. The resort you're staying at charges $17.25 per hour. In addition to a $35 deposit to rent ski equipment, write and use a linear equation to find the total cost. To rent the ski equipment from 9:30, should say from, to 2:30. So with your linear equations, you're going to have a y equals mx plus b sort of setup. Y is always your total cost. So that's what we're trying to find. Anytime you see the word per or for each, that's going to tell you your M. Whatever word is connected to per, so hour, that's going to be your X. And in this case, we're going to look for a specific amount of hours, figure out how many hours that would be. So, and then your B would be if you have any one-time fees or things that you only pay for once. So now that you know which one is which, we could set up our equation. We don't know y. We know M is 17.25. X we know is 5. B we know is 37. Then you could put that all in your phone. And because we're looking for total costs, our unit of measurement would be in dollars. Are there any other questions on this page that we want to see you go over? So in 76, let's highlight the monthly rent for an 850 square office is $1,172. And for a 1,000 square foot office, the rent is $1,268. We need to write and solve a linear equation to find the monthly rent for a 1,200 square foot office. So in this case, we're still going to use the y equals mx plus b format, and you can do this in the calculator or by hand, I'll do both. But in this case, we don't have some of those things. Here, we do have two different things. You might think it's systems, but the square footage, this is directly related. So I'm going to call this x1, and this x2, and this y1, and this y2. And then if we wanted to do this algebraically, we would have to find the slope. To find the slope, we're going to use this formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I would take each of my x1, x2, y1, y2, put those into my formula, and then find my slope. So this is the cost per square footage. But I still need to include like the deposit. So I have to find my y value by taking one pair. Let's say I use this x and this y. And I'm going to use this equation, my y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then I'm going to take my slope, my x1, my y1, and I'm going to put everything into the equation. My y1 would be 1172. My slope, I'm just going to use the decimal. And then x minus my x1 equals. Then we can start to find our equation. Distribute. And then add 1,172 to both sides. Now, unfortunately, that's not our final answer. That is our equation. So our monthly rate, the rate per square footage, and the deposit. But then we have to find the monthly rent for a 1,200 square foot office, so we have to put this in for x. And then whatever that is would be our final answer. And then we'll do this in the calculator and then we'll be done for today. $13.96 would be that final answer. Now, if you were doing it algebraically, process, you would have to recognize that this would still be x, this would still be y, and I could go into my calculator. Go into stat, go into edit, and get rid of these. And then put in my x values, 850 and 1000. And put in my y values, 1172 and 1268. Find my line of best fit by going back into stat, back over to calculate, number 4, store this. Notice that we got that same equation. We just did a lot more work to find it. So you would get this equation, you would say, use your calculator, and then I could go to my table to find when x is 1200 by changing this second window to 1200. So same answers, just shorter process. Okay. At this time, we're going to stop. Hold on to this, because we're going to keep going next class. You can either work on retake work, missing assignments, keep working in your final exam packet. Reminder that next Wednesday is the last day for missing assignments, missing tests, retake work. So do all of that as soon as